inside the tour. Plenty of people to talk to this morning. I'm delighted to be joined by United players, or former United players, Paddy Crerand, David May, and surfing guru Mikael Silvestre as well. You may have seen in the last day or so that some of these guys were taking to the water, and I think, Mikael, you enjoyed yourself out there, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. First time, and I managed to stay on the boat a few times, so yeah, good experience. I loved it.
Amazing.
So nice.
What a start to the show that is.
Yeah, and I started your phone out for you.
I know. There we are.
But yeah, good fun.
Indeed, been doing for the last few days, and indeed for the next few days as well. We'll be bringing you live training right here on your channel. Another day in warm temperatures, touching around about 30 degrees. But these players are getting used to it now, getting into the routine, Paddy.
Still hard all the same. Still hard. The lads are, what are you laughing at?
Well, when he said 30 degrees, I thought you'd look at your watch.
Yeah,
see how hot it was.
You do have a
generally do.
Paddy does have a habit of checking times and temperatures on
These old fellas.
Can we have a serious conversation?
I'm having a serious conversation. It's very difficult when the conditions are very warm and all that sort of stuff to train.
I'm not sure whose idea it was to put us in black t-shirts either, but that's keeping us on our toes as well.
We thought it was you.
No, I don't have power to make any decisions. You know that. We are seeing some scenes down there now, singing a little song to him, and I'm sure there'll be a few surprises for him along the way. There tends to be when you're in a squad like this. You've got to stay right on your toes, especially when it's your birthday.
Yeah, you got to be ready for anything, any silliness.
What are you letting them in for?
I don't know. It's a good time, you know. It's a tough time pre-season because you've got to work hard, and in condition like this, it's testing your body and your mental stress as well. But you've got occasion like birthdays, like new players coming in, having to sing in front of everybody. Yeah. It's good for the atmosphere, I think.
And we think of ages. We've talked a lot about the youth in this Manchester United squad at the moment. We're going to see the players training very shortly, including the likes of Scott McTominay and Demi Mitchell, youngsters as well. We think about those kind of guys, 20, 21, you know, Marcus Rashford 19. I mean, it's wonderful to have that youth, that energy, and that potential for the future as well as ability for the present, Maisie.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, the two signings that we've brought in this close season, 22 just come up to 23, and I think Lukaku's 24, is it? So perfect ages to build a team, a young team, young, good, fit players who are going to be here for the next, well, at least 7 or 8, 10 years, and you know, it's great for the future.
Yeah, indeed. Now you guys have all played under managers who were very detailed in their preparations, meticulous with the way that they set things up and went about things. It's worth pointing out at this point, obviously it's just gone 10 o'clock here. I can look at my watch when I say that. Just gone 10 o'clock here in Los Angeles. The manager, Jose Mourinho, his staff as well, get here at about 7 o'clock in the morning to put out all the various cones and various bits and pieces for the drills. Quite detailed out there. We're going to obviously see a portion of training, the first sort of section of training, and then various other bits and pieces will be done afterwards, obviously, as they start to prepare for the matches. But there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes for these kind of training sessions, isn't there?
Yeah, because you have to deal with a big group of players. It's 25, so the goalkeepers with the start, they work on their own. So you have 22 field players to entertain, and you divide them into groups at the beginning of the session, and then you end up doing 11v11 on a small-sided pitch. In order to get ready for the game. So yeah, it takes a lot of thinking and organizing previous the training, so make sure that it's running smoothly for an hour and a half, because an hour and a half is maximum time you should have in pre-season, because you're going to be back in the afternoon training again. And
of course, in that hour and a half, 2 hours, however long the training session is, you're trying to keep players interested who might hate pre-season, like a certain Mr. David May. You weren't a fan, were you, of pre-season?
I wasn't, no. But to be fair, I mean, training now is totally different. Me and Dennis were talking about earlier on, we'd be doing more 200, 300 metre sprints and stuff like that with Kiddo, and that was tough, you know, whether it was back home in England or away on tour. But now it's more with a ball, more I mean, these lads are so fit now anyway. It's just a matter of just ticking over and just getting back to where they were. But back in the day, it was tough going. It really was, and I always seemed to be boiling out as well. So yeah, it was tough. It was tough then.
It's quite funny, Dave, when you talk about that, because every Monday morning, and we done it when we started pre-season training. You know, through that park every Monday morning for about 2 hours.
That's because you had a good weekend.
How do you know?
Because it's well known.
I know that's true.
That's what it was.
Players went daft Saturday nights, that was the thing. And but pre-season training, we went there. We would spend a week there. Heaton Park, Michael, is uphill and down Dale.
Yeah.
It's a massive park in Manchester, not far from the training ground. And we used to do a lot of running there. It was hard work, but by God, it got you fit.
You don't see any players being sick now, do you, or anything like that? We used to be spewing our ring up and everything.
Yeah.
It was horrible. But no, it's all short and sharp now and very intense. But,
there we are. Your words certainly do paint a picture, Maisie. I'll give you that.
Like the throwing up part of it, that's quite common.
Am I right though, Paddy?
Oh, without question, yeah.
What a lovely note to leave us on, just for the time being. Let's head down pitchside, shall we? Stuart Garner's with Denis Irwin and Bojan Djordjic. Stuart, it's all yours.
It's an absolute treat to come here every day. Fantastic facilities at the UCLA, and you take a look at the various pieces of equipment on the pitch. Boys, Denis and Bojan, this looks like it's going to be a heavy first of 2 sessions for these lads.
Yeah, day 3 in and another 1.5 hours in the sun. It's all about just get your fitness. There's a lot of cones, a lot of bollards out there, but as we've seen the last few days of training, the intensity is very, very good. And of course the whole thing is to get fit for August 13th against West Ham, so this is really just the start of it.
We've got the Rock's best friend with us as well. Bojan, the Rock who's staying in our hotel. Bojan managed to get a selfie with us. That's a great moment for you.
He's my friend, of course it is. But it's even greater standing beside Dan as well. He was the man I came on for when I made my Premier League debut for United in 2001. So
was that
always a pleasure.
Was that a highlight of your career, Denis?
I tell you what, Giggsy came on for me against Everton. That was his debut, and Shazy came on for me against the team. So I must be lucky.
You're a lucky charm. I'm still here. I'm still here, Dan. They can't get rid of me.
Something you were just saying off air was when you were training with the first team as a youngster. A little bit later in this programme, we're going to hear from Scott McTominay, a youngster who is part of the first team squad. Several youngsters like Demi Mitchell, Axel Tuanzebe, integrated with the first team on this tour. But you were talking about it was quite intimidating when you did it.
It was, of course it was, especially when you get that call over. You have to go over the bridge from the reserves. You're going to train with the first team, and the pressure there. It was like, first of all, like you won Oscar when you train with the first team, but the quality of players, Giggs, Beckham, Scholes, Keane, Yorkie, Coley, get their first touch right, otherwise you'll be out for the session. I think the younger generation have it a little bit more easier. I don't know if this is social networks or everything, but they rise quite quick.
Yeah.
And they come to a level that maybe they get disappointed in themselves when they reach that level. And I think it's easier for the youngsters now, you mentioned them, you mentioned the names, to come in on this tour because it's still a quite young group of players here, except of course Michael Carrick, which brings the experience.
I mean, when youngsters came in and you were an experienced player, did the lads kind of fire past it and see if the first touch is up to much?
Well, no, it's a great opportunity for young lads, coming away here. It's their first trip, McTominay and Mitchell. But as Bojan was saying, you need that confidence as well, because you are under pressure. You're dealing with players, you're up against players that will try every trick in the book to stay in the first team, so get your place in the first team. So they got to handle all that. But as Bojan was saying, they're probably more confident now than they've ever been with the likes of social media, and just I think in general that the young lads are a lot more confident, which will be good for them. But it's a fantastic opportunity, and for me it really is to see what level you need to get when you play for Manchester United, the intensity in training. And we're also talking about Victor coming in as well, because he's coming from Benfica, where it's probably a bit more relaxed, and he's had 4 training sessions here, and he probably thinks the intensity's been moved up a notch.
No, I did. I spoke to him just before training, and I asked him, I said, how are the legs feeling? He said, they are heavy. Of course, it should be, it's pre-season, but the intensity of the thing, because you always have to be on your toes. When you play in Benfica, you're on top most of the games. You can have easy rise through them 90 minutes. Here, every training session is still, Benfica is a great club, but United are one step further than that. And the pressure here is greater, but he looks very confident. He has a good left foot, good right foot. He plays the balls easy, and as Denis was saying as well, he was looking on the defensive side. And you said to me that he's reading the things very well, and that's what you're looking at. I'm just looking at how he brings the ball out. So
there's hundreds of millions of pounds worth of talent, basically 100 yards at the very top of your screen. You can't, where the tops of the sort of tents are in the distance, only a couple of 100 yards away. That's where Real Madrid are training. They only landed in LA yesterday. Bale's in the squad, Morata's in the squad. There's no Ronaldo, but most of the big names are there. But I suppose it does show what a facility this is. Probably the two biggest clubs in the world are coming right here.
Well, that explains a lot, doesn't it? As I said before, the pitch out there is absolutely perfect. To say they've trained on it 4 times. It's like a bowling green. The weather was at 23, 24 degrees now. That's why they're training at 10 o'clock and later on this afternoon. The weather's perfect, so it's all there for them, and they've no excuses at all. But yeah, it's pre-season. You expect to have a few tiredness in the legs, but I'm sure they're all aiming to be fit, and it's important, Bo, that you do stay fit for the first couple of weeks of pre-season, that you get this under your belt.
What would you be thinking if you were Morata right now? You're thinking, well, I could have been here, but I'm over there.
It could be worse. He's still a Real Madrid player. Exactly. It's not that bad being a Real Madrid player. So give me that. Yeah. But the thing is as well, you know yourself. When you go out on the market, there's not many high-quality strikers there. And we're talking about Morata for a long time, same with Lukaku. But as I mentioned earlier in our shows, I would go for Romelu because we need almost a finished article, somebody that will guarantee you them goals in the Premier League. For Morata, coming over from Spain, he's playing Juventus as well, done well. He's not been regular from Real Madrid, and coming here, you have to perform. We don't have time or room to give somebody so much time and space to acclimatize to the English style of play, because we're pressuring us. We finished 6th, we came into the Champions League thanks to the Europa League final, so now with the money spent and the quality on show here just behind us, we have to push for that title. United, if you play there, you have to get used to the pressure, otherwise you can go from the club. That is the greatness about them things. Sometimes you can handle it, but sometimes you can't, and then you have to find another club.
From our vantage point, right at pitch side, close to the players, the first time I've actually done this for a couple of days, and it realised what a huge unit Lukaku is.
Well, I tell you, in the last 2 years, since Jose's come in, we've bought players with physicality, and I think we needed to do that. Obviously, Ibra was huge. Pogba is well over 6 foot. Bailly last year over 6 foot. And the 2 boys we brought in this year, Victor and Lindelof, he's 6'2", 6'3", yeah. And of course Lukaku, who's very, very strong physically. There's still some. I know it's technically getting better, but I still think physicality, you need that little bit in your team, and certainly I think the last couple of seasons we've done that, and I think we've needed to do it as well. And pace as well. He's brought in players with pace.
Exactly the point I was going to make. It's being massive is one thing, but being massive and extremely quick. I mean, Zlatan, brilliant for United, but has never been quick. But it's a different
you're playing
thing when
a different type of style of football, and I've watched these trainings here, even if it's only been like 4 sessions, but you can see what he offers you. He's always an outlet, and every time Paul gets the ball, even if it's a key ball session or they have to run the ball over the line to score a goal, he gives them that option. And for a centre midfielder to always have somebody that's going actually deep or go down to that channel, it reveals so much pressure on you, and it gives you an option, and then you can play into feet. Mkhitaryan can come into that hole. So for me, it's been a great signing, and with better players, he's going to improve. Then I mean the first touch, the layoffs, because this is a different standard. West Brom, Everton, all respect to them, but Manchester United is another step. Did I say Manchester United like American now then, did I?
No,
I've been 2 days in LA, I'm talking on Manchester United.
It's 28 players are here. Some are obviously recovering from injuries, but still you read the social media, the newspapers, it's all about who else is going to come in. We've seen all the whole list of names, but you look at this squad, and do you still think, I mean, he signed 4 last year, 4 top quality players. He signed 2 top quality players this year. Do you think he's looking for another 2? So it's like 4 last year and 4 this year?
Well, I think he'll be certainly looking for another 1. 4 fantastic signings last year, I've got to say that. All improved the team enormously. 2 great signings already this season. And I think everybody's in the mindset that maybe another couple are coming in. That'll bloat the squad quite a lot. Yeah. I've no doubt if another 2 come in, you'll probably see 2 or 3 go out. I think it's only natural, because you can't have, it's great to have a big squad, but you can't have too many, because there'll be 3, 4, 5 players that won't play any football at all. So if a couple do come in and set up against each other, first 2 games against LA Galaxy on Saturday and Real Salt Lake on the Monday or Tuesday. Monday. So they're 2 quick games of succession. I think he'll use all the players on his disposal. And maybe after that, you might see, when we start playing the Man Cities, the Real Madrids and Barcelona, you might see 1 or 2 groupings in centre halves together. So you might get a better idea of his maybe starting 11 as the season goes on.
Well, I was wondering about that. When we get to the games, which we're looking forward to, you're going to see them all on MUTV, will the lineups give us clues as to what the lineup's going to be on the first game of the season, or will it be he's just giving everyone a game?
I think for me the most important part is to find that centre-back pairing, because we brought Victor in. I think he'll be a great addition alongside Eric Bailly. Gives you youth and he gives you that core through the middle. You have De Gea in goal, them two with Pogba in the centre and Lukaku up front. They are young, but youngsters, but with quality, and that would improve the team. I think for the group, it's important that everybody get the minutes to keep the harmony in the group as well, because when you come on a pre-season tour, you still want to be part of it. And I think everybody will get the minutes, like Dan was saying, the first 2 games before we get closer to Washington.
Yeah.
And then we have Norway and Dublin, of course, the 8th of August, the Super Cup in Skopje.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I mean, you look at the squad there, there's 5, 6, 7 centre halves, and all have done particularly well last season as well, when they've played. Unfortunately, injuries curtailed them. You know, whether it was Phil Jones, who had a great run in the middle of the season, Chris Smalling, but at some point there was a lot of injuries, so you had a lot of different partnerships, and I would think the manager, as most managers, really like a centre half partnership that you know you can build from pre-season, and certainly bringing Lindelof in will add more competition. And we know how good Eric Bailly was for us last year, so everybody be looking at thinking they might be the 2. But I'm sure Phil Jones, Chris Smalling, Daley Blind,
Rocco as well.
Rojo when he comes back,
well,
Tinsabi, I'm sure they'll have things to say as well. So, but you'll get a lot more indication probably after the first 2 games. I think he'll play every player in the first 2 games.
If we think it might be, and it's obviously Bailly and Lindelof as the sort of preferred partnership, can you see that meshing well? I mean, you know Lindelof better than we all do, obviously.
No, I do. I'm not talking highly of him just because he's Swedish, and I love Swedish players like I did with Zlatan as well. I just think he has quality. The problem is sometimes in England, you only look inside your borders. You're good at English football, and then when you go abroad, Spain, Italy, Portugal, you lose track of some players. He's good with his left foot, he's good with his right foot, he's quite quick, and he's confident on the ball.
The Iceman.
The Iceman, but when you come from Sweden to Portugal, you get an education, the right education in a big club. There's a pressure on themselves. They have to win the league every year, and they have Porto and Sporting Lisbon as well. He did really well in Champions League. Easier for him. It's a natural step because he will give you an option with Bailly. Strength, pace on Bailly, going hard on the tackles, and Victor can actually beat that link with nice passes into the midfield or break the lines, dropping them into Romelu.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I mentioned earlier some youngsters being given an opportunity to join in with the first team squad on this tour. One of them is Scott McTominay, the midfielder, who made the break into the sort of first team squad right at the end of last season, just before training started on the athletics track here at the Drake Stadium. I had a quick chat with him. Scott, first of all, your first team pre-season tour. What's the experience been like so far?
Yeah, obviously it's an amazing experience for me coming away with the first team on my first team tour, coming to LA, and it's just a big experience for me, and you've got to take every moment as you've got to grasp the opportunity and take everything in, and what the players do, resting, how they prepare for games, and it's just really good to be around the squad, and hopefully I can show everybody, and including the manager, what I'm capable of, and hopefully push on from there.
Has there been one thing that you've learned so far in the first couple of days, the differences between a
step above, and you just have to be, especially my position, checking your shoulder all the time, making sure that you're aware of everything that goes on, and all that stands you in good stead for whatever games I'm going to play this season. And it's just a really good experience being out here with the heat, managing your rest, managing how you perform out on the pitch, and yeah, it's only good things. Yeah.
If I spoke to you a year ago and said this is what's going to be happening for you in 12 months' time, would you have been surprised, or would you have thought, yeah, that's my aim? And
yeah, obviously that is my aim, but last season I was just coming into the reserve team group and performing there, so it is obviously you have to expect things to happen for you, because you have to be confident in yourself, and you have to know that you're gonna go out and improve and things like that. So obviously it is surprising, but it's not really a surprise because you have to expect it and be prepared for everything that happens in football.
And obviously you've got some friends like Demi Mitchell and Joel Pereira you've played with at the younger age groups, but is it good to have those guys here and have the older guys as well? Made you feel welcome, all part of it? Yeah,
even Marcus and Jesse and Axel, they're all boys that you've grew up with throughout the academy system, and it's just brilliant to see loads of young players out on tour and enjoying themselves and hopefully preparing for the new season.
And the new boys as well, I mean...
Yeah, Victor and Romelu, yeah, they've fitted in really well. They're just like they've been here for a while, so yeah, everybody made them feel welcome, and it's just brilliant to have them here, yeah.
And I suppose the hope is, there's 5 games in the USA, is to get some game time and impress the manager.
Yeah, of course, that's obviously the main thing for me is playing games, and I've said that before in interviews, it's the main thing for me, but obviously I just want to show the manager what I'm capable of, and hopefully he likes what he sees and we can take it from there.
And also, as well as the training and the football, I mean, there have been TV stars, film stars coming down here, people meeting the players, and it's a different world, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. We've had the Game of Thrones, we have Julia Roberts, and it's The Rock in the other day. It's crazy seeing these people, but obviously it's brilliant to see. Yeah.
Well, good luck with it, mate. I'll let you get on the training pitch.
Appreciate that.
Great to hear from Scott McTominay. Thank you to Scott for talking to us. Thank you to Stuart, Den and Bo for the last few minutes as well, live here on MUTV as we watch training with Manchester United on Tour 2017, presented by Aon. Maisie, Paddy and Mikel here with me, of course, again. And guys, just hearing from Scott there, I mean, it's a great opportunity, isn't it, for a young lad who a couple of years ago was 5'6". He's now 6'2", and he's somebody who, in the middle of the pitch, there's an opportunity there for somebody who sort of combines the ability, obviously, and the height. We've seen the presence of Marouane Fellaini in the last sort of 18 months, 2 years or so, and the opportunities he's had. You know, Scott could get a shout perhaps in there.
Well, I'm sure he will do. He's a good player. As the lads are saying, you don't come on tour if you're not a good player. Yeah. So the manager's put faith in him, and as we all know, he's going to play games. He can play in that midfield role. He can, as you see now, he's a big unit now. So yeah, the manager's going to give everybody game time, and he's got to take it.
Can you imagine, Dave, the lift that kid's got being here on the tour? What a lift for his confidence.
Oh, of course it is. But it just goes to show that the manager
if you're producing at that level, low down, I don't mean low, I mean you're only a kid and that all of a sudden, but they should realise somewhere along the way that somebody's watching them. Somebody's watching them and reporting back to the manager, and possibly the manager could be watching.
Of course, yeah.
Down at the training ground, and you never know.
But it's as you say, though, the confidence he'll get from that, it's fantastic.
It's a nudge for all the reserve players, isn't it, to say the manager's watching, this is what can happen if you perform well. And he's in an environment now with the first teamers who obviously are in demand for signatures, for photos, for all the like as they come out on this pre-season tour, because there were a lot of people here, a lot of people lining up as we walked in this morning to sort of get a glimpse of the guys, get a glimpse of you guys as well.
Well, it was on last night. Julia Roberts was down on the pitch as well, so that's not bad for the lads.
But nobody told us, did they?
Nobody told us, no. we can get anywhere near her, but as you say, Stow, you just look around. There's so many people who just want to get a glimpse of the heroes down there, and come kick-off time.
It's
on
how
Saturday.
big football's become worldwide.
It's just Manchester United is a global brand. It's the biggest club in the world.
Crazy.
And to see all the fans lining up just to get a little glimpse of the lads is fantastic. And it's great that the lads, sign pictures, have photographs with them. It's great.
And hopefully you've enjoyed what you've been seeing so far on MUTV during the course of this tour. As in previous tours, we bring you a lot of live training, which we've done over the last few days. We'll continue that with the rest of this week. And then, of course, the matches start. That's when it will really start to get interesting to see combinations on the pitch, the likes of Pogba and Lukaku working together perhaps, and the central defensive pairings, how things knit together. That's what it's all about really in these kind of tours, isn't it?
You start the season, that gives all the players a chance to work their partnerships. It's not only by two, it's 3-4 players in certain areas, and the manager has a lot of opportunities to pick the players and select the best team.
Gents, we have to leave it there. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for your company as ever. Make sure you check out What Goes On Tour in a few hours' time. We'll be back training tomorrow. See you soon. Bye-bye.